Welcome back to the program Power Tonight with Elvira. I'm sure marami na po kayo napanood na episode na kung saan po nasa ASEAN country tayo in line with the 50th years of the Association of Southeast Asian Countries. Ngayon po, andito tayo sa Republic of Indonesia kung saan po napakapalad natin because Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Lume Isleta agreed to be interviewed. Ano bang ginagawa nila dito? Ano ba ang role ng ASEAN dito sa Indonesia? Ano bang dapat natin malaman? Siya po ang subaybayan ninyo sa pagbabalik ng Power Tonight with Elvira. Excellency Ambassador Isleta, no? So, natutuwa po ako na kahit na po, alam ko napaka-busy ninyo, pinag-unlakan po rin ninyong panayaya namin na ma-interview kayo. And I know the Republic of Indonesia plays a very important role dito sa ASEAN. Knowing we are celebrating 50th years kung saan po ang Pilipinas ang host, so ang role nyo dito ay napaka-crucial in order to strengthen more the relationship between Philippines and the Republic of Indonesia, di ba? Pero, to be in ASEAN, you have been assigned here for how many years na po?
Here in ASEAN?
Yes.
Total ASEAN countries that I've been posted to, which includes Singapore, where I spent 6 years, and in Laos, People's Republic, where I spent about 3 years, and now here in Indonesia for 2 years. So all in all, a total of 10 years. Yes.
So you have been a career ever since?
Oh yes, ever since I joined the department in 1989.
Is it really your dream ever since you graduated? Ano ba po ang natapos nyo? Ito ba talagang gusto ninyo ever since to serve the country by being a diplomat? Talaga yan bang first love ninyo?
Well, actually, to be frank, I had no idea whatsoever of the DFA.
Okay.
I finished my business economics course at the UP, after which I joined the NEDA, National Economic and Development Authority. So I spent several years in NEDA, and it was only then that I got to learn about the DFA and a possible career in the Foreign Service, because several of my friends were joining the DFA. So it was only because I sort of joined the bandwagon and took the exam as well. And fortunately, I passed, and then I moved on to the DFA. So it wasn't something that I planned. I guess things just happened, and possibly it was meant to be. And so I'm happy also to be in the DFA now.
So you never regret any moment na bakit itong pinili ko, di ba? Kasi hindi ganun kadali yun, eh, no?
Well, yes. No, not at all. No regrets whatsoever. It's an exciting job. Of course, it's not all glamour as people might think.
Yes.
It's actually a difficult job. Takes every kind of skills that you have to put forth all these skills. And it's an exciting job, because there's always something different every day. You meet a lot of people, and you encounter different circumstances and situations, and it's quite challenging. So that's where you get the satisfaction as well.
Your Excellency, you mentioned that you finished business, administration in UP. So as long as you finish college degree, whatever it is, you took the exam, kung nakapasa, tsaka ba sila magte-train sa inyo o posting na kayo agad?
Well, in my particular case, economics training in school came in very handy, because plus my experience in NEDA was very useful for my entering the DFA, especially since when I entered the DFA, there was much focus on economic diplomacy. So which means, bringing down to dollars and cents your efforts to strengthen relations with other countries. So this comes in the form of more trade, more investments, more development assistance. So it's good that I had the training, but then again, it's not it's not a requirement that you have such trainings in particular fields. Because if you'll go through the roster of the diplomats now in the service, you'll find quite a variation of backgrounds. We actually have like nurses, we have engineers, we have accountants, we have lawyers, economists, and we even had the priest at one point.
Yes,
actually.
The ambassador to Korea, I think, no?
No, he was actually in the Vatican, I believe, for some time, but eventually left the priesthood. But it's really it takes all kinds. I guess it's knowledge about politics, economics, and law on a very general plane, and then maybe some very specialized knowledge also comes in handy.
So it's quite a very tough and challenging job at the same time, di ba? It's not all glamour eh. Kundi trabaho dito. Kasi nakikita ko, number one ninyo, I represent my country. So paano ko ba ipapakilala ang Pilipinas dito sa bansa na ito, di ba? So lahat ng pwede mong gawin sa negotiation, convincing, yung power of convincing is very important to have a good relationship. Tama po ba?
Yes, you're right, Miss Elvira. Actually, when you talk about trainings and backgrounds, you're talking about your IQ, no? Your intelligence quotient. But I think equally important in this kind of job is EQ. So your emotional quotient, how you empathize with people, how you relate to people. So whether it be in negotiations, whether you're dealing with Filipinos, maybe Filipinos who are even in prison, who are in some kind of difficult situations, it's very important that you have both IQ and EQ for you to be able to establish rapport and also be able to achieve whatever it is that you set out to achieve.
Given another chance, do you think you will still come back to an ASEAN countries? Do you think this is more challenging? Mas meron kang nagagawa for the country, for the Filipino people also? Kaysa ma-assign ka doon sa malalaking countries na alam natin, puros hierarchy lang ang kausap, mga big business group, di ba?
Well, I'm not discounting the possibility that I can be posted again in another ASEAN country, and which I think will also be a challenge to me. What's nice about being posted in an ASEAN country is that, you know, the culture. You have a commonality, no? That's why they always say there's an Asian way. So I think immediately as Filipinos, we have an advantage because we are part of the Asian way. So in that sense, it's easier and also, I guess, a little bit difficult and different when you are posted elsewhere in a non-Asian country. Of course, the sense of fulfillment also varies in the postings that you have. There's a different kind of fulfillment that I guess what someone will get from being posted in Washington, in London, or wherever developed Western country that one may be posted at, as compared to being posted in an Asian country. In my case, I find great fulfillment in the last 3 postings that I've had, all ASEAN, and it's very nice because you have friends whom you will eventually see again in the circle, and which has happened to me just recently when I was in Manila for the ASEAN Summit. So I saw my friends from Laos, as well as a few friends from way back in Singapore. So it's nice to get back in this circle amongst friends.
So you feel at home with each other, parang na kayo magkakapatid dito.
Parang gano'n. Kasi nga, parang when I was posted there, parang malaki rin yung tulong nila sa atin. So may ibang kind of bonding that you establish.
Tsaka di ba, ang pinaka-first mo is Laos. O Singapore.
As an ambassador.
Oo, Laos. Pero prior to that, may ibang Asian country ka o other countries you've been posted?
Well, yeah, before, Laos was my first posting as an ambassador.
Okay.
But prior to that, I was also in Singapore as consul and eventually consul general. I stayed there for about 6 years. But prior to that, I also had postings in Vienna, Austria, and also in Stockholm, Sweden.
So, yun ang pagkaiba. So, pinaka-first is Stockholm o
Was
Vienna.
Vienna.
Tutuloy natin mamaya ang ating magandang discussion sa pagbabalik po ng Power Tonight with Elvira.
Ako po si Johnny Gomez ng SOS, Serbisyo Ora Mismo Sigurado. Manood po kayo dito sa ating malayang talakayan, dito sa ating masiglang usapan. Tandaan po ninyo, layunin natin ang maiangat ang kaalaman ng ating mga kababayan sa katwiran at karapatan. Nationwide and worldwide, mapapanood at mapakikinggan sa DZRJ 8:10 AM ang Radyo Bandido TV.
Watch and listen to SOS, Servicio Ora Mismo Sigurado, Monday to Friday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Ambassador here, anong sa tingin mo, pinaka-challenging dito? And what do you think the lesson learned from here? No?
From all my postings, well, first of all, when I was in the more developed countries, I think there the challenge is quite different because the circumstances are different, but it's not lesser or even greater. I suppose you can't really say that, no? You can't really quantify because it varies. It varies. We also had Filipinos in all those postings that I've had. I've been to like Vienna. We had a lot of nurses, working in Vienna and also other parts of Austria. And as you said, also Filipinos working for the United Nations system. And in Stockholm, we also had quite a few Filipinos. Many of them are coming in as nannies, and some teachers and students as well on scholarship there. In ASEAN, again, the circumstances differ, but you know, you try to give your 100% in whatever circumstance you find yourself in. Of course, the relationship between the Philippines and another country will depend also on the magnitude of our cooperation, whether it be in trade, economic sphere, political sphere, or socio-cultural sphere. So we try to make that stronger in all aspects of our relations. So for example, we are quite established with Singapore, and as well with Indonesia. But if you go to Laos, where I was, the relationship is still building. So the challenge is to help bring it, make it stronger. So there's never a slow day, so to speak. It's what you make of it. So if you're into your work, then therefore you make it work for you. You try to achieve the goals that you've set out.
And try to give the best you can, no, to understand this country and how to improve relationship between the two countries.
I guess also because when you're posted there, you get to know them better. You know, and also how the system works, how the people are. Of course, there are nuances. You just can't go general that Asians are all the same. There are also nuances in the culture and to which you adapt. And then knowing that, you know how to work out on the objectives that you set out.
Lahat ito, talagang kailangan pala, you have to understand ano bang needs ang meron ang mga-Pilipino sa bawat bansa pupuntahan mo. So you are prepared with that when you accepted a post. So kailan ba agad-agad sagutin mo, yes, I can go there. O you have to have a certain background first na ano bang ine-expect sa amin dito, saan kami makakatulong. How do you decide? You were given freedom to choose whether you like the assignment or not?
Well, actually, I'm kind of fortunate, Elvira, in that sense, because I chose to be where I was posted or where I am now.
Okay.
So Singapore came as an offer from my then ambassador, and I jumped at the chance because I was already handling Southeast Asia desk in the Department of Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
And when Laos became vacant, there was a vacancy for Laos. I was eager to go as an ambassador already. So I volunteered for Laos. And then when there was a vacancy in Indonesia, I then put up my hand and said I'd like to try Indonesia. So I'm fortunate that I got all the postings that I wanted.
And these are all very lucrative na, very challenging kasi like Laos, a very quiet countries, no? So imagine for you to choose to be there na walang masyadong ma-Pilipino, a few pa lang sila. Tapos, as you said, you're just establishing the relationship, di ba? So, hindi mo naisip, baka malungkot ka doon?
Hindi naman. Actually, I enjoyed my stay in Laos. And as I was telling my colleague who was there with me, we're lucky to be in Laos at this time of their history because they haven't really completely opened up. So we're still seeing a Laos that has yet to come out to the world. So we see I guess some kind of the purity, I guess, in the culture also. And, you know, I was telling my friends that the other diplomats who will follow in our footsteps might not enjoy this anymore.
Okay.
Because by that time, maybe Western culture will start creeping in and there will be a change in the, you know, in the mindsets of people, perhaps, no? So, it's, as you said, it's a quiet posting. But as I've always said, it's what you make of it. So I could have, you know, laid back and just waited for things to happen. But I didn't feel good about doing that. I thought I needed to do my job. And doing my job is looking for things to work on. So you create your work as well. And you pursue it so in the hope that you can achieve greater cooperation and collaborations with the host country where you're at.
So, in your opinion, personal opinion, not to do with government, no? Let's say, as an ordinary citizen, you know, you saw the beauty of one's identity. Kasi identity nila ito eh. So, in your own opinion ba, napaka-importante ba sa isang bansa na kailangan yung identity should remain or should they really adjust to the change of times? What will you suggest?
I think it's important to have a sense of self, you know, as a country, as a people, but also be able to adjust because globalization is here. No?
Yes.
It's bound to happen sooner or later. So in a sense, that also was part of my mission when I was in Laos. So for the Filipino children, children of Filipino expatriates working there, it was also, I took it all upon myself to also familiarize them with the Filipino culture. So that was why I established in Laos the Centro Rizal Center, or Centro Rizal. We were able to gather a lot of these children and allow them to learn more about the Filipino culture, because some of them were really, it was totally strange to them, because they hardly went home, so they were more exposed to the Lao culture. And so by the time I left, I was happy to note that the children learned about 3 or 4 dances, Filipino dances, including the maglalatik, which was quite unusual for them because it was the first time they were seeing all this coconut bao, no? As part of the costume. But eventually they enjoyed themselves because I was as I was telling the parents, you are what you are because of the values and the culture, the Philippine culture that you you have in you, no, as Filipinos. So I think your children too will be able to carry on the success that you have achieved if they have a very strong grounding on their
Yes.
own Filipino-ness, no,
Yes,
or the
yes.
Filipino culture. So
And I think that's very important, no? You remind them, where do they come from? Yung sabihin natin na pag alam mong kultura mo, i-share mo sa kanila, it's something your pride, no?
Yes.
Very proud ka, ito kami, di ba? But anyway, Your Excellency, itutuloy natin mamaya ang ating magandang discussion sa pagbabalik po ng Power Tonight with Elvira.
Ito po ang inyong kaibigan Jimmy Morato, nag-aanyaya sa inyo sa inyong palatuntunang 𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗵 dito pa rin sa inyong paboritong AM station sa buong Philippines at sa buong mundo, DZRJ 810 AM Radyo Bandido TV.
Watch and listen to 𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗵, Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Excellency, napakaganda ng sharing mo, no? So I learned a lot na it's not very easy to become an ambassador or to join diplomatic, job, kasi makikita natin bawat bansa may kanyang katangian, no? Na you have to adapt, you have to learn, para ka din nag-aaral sa college, sa university, no? Every time there is something new, you have to know what to expect and what you can do, no? Hindi, you're not only dealing with the countries population, kundi sariling atin, mga Pilipino who went there to work, kailangan kasama mo rin sila. At na-notice mo, importante pala ang mga bata, i-mold na sila sa ating kultura. Kasi lumaki sila dito. Siyempre, kung ano yung ambience, yung environment, yun ang kinagisna nila, yun ang maiintindihan nila. Can you tell us, what is this Centro Rizal? How effective it is to disseminate to Filipino working abroad?
yes, I think it's very important. Here in Indonesia, I also established another Centro Rizal at the embassy. So it's actually provided for under a Republic Act that all foreign service posts should endeavor to set up this Centro Rizal, which is basically the cultural arm of all embassies. So here in Indonesia, when we established it a year ago, it's been very active. And more I find that Filipinos are coming to the embassy, bringing their families, learning about our culture. We have ongoing rondalla classes for kids. We also have ongoing storytelling sessions of Filipino stories, also for kids. And then, of course, I have a Centro Rizal lecture series where we bring in important figures from the Philippines to talk about culture. Like we had a chairman of the Philippine Commission, National Commission for Culture and the Arts,
NCCA.
Chairman De Leon was here, and also the now chairman, Virgilio Almayor, was also here, who is also a national artist. We had Ambet Ocampo here. So a lot of our Filipinos come to the embassy for these after-work sessions, which we try to have every 2 months. And so they find time and braving the traffic of Indonesia to listen to all these very important resource persons. So we also have a lot of cultural performances. We had Ballet Philippines perform here. We also had a Rondalla Ensemble perform here as well. So they're actually lucky, I think, because they're getting these cultural offerings that you don't sometimes you take for granted when you're back in the Philippines.
Yes.
But here it creates a greater sense of nationhood among us Filipinos. And I think you can never take it away from you, a person, no? So I'm very happy about all these events, and I'm glad that I'm getting the support of the community by way of their involvement in all these events and lectures that we have. And in fact, sometimes they themselves come forward and volunteer to do some work for the embassy. So I think it's been
That's
quite
nice to
successful.
hear. So ilan po ang population ng Filipino community dito?
Well, the latest official statistics that we have is that we have 10,000 over Filipinos in the country in December 2016, but that includes the tourists and temporary visitors. But when you speak of Filipinos who are actually living
In
and working
Indonesia.
here, we have 7,000 over. So, and that's all over Indonesia. Of course, the concentration is in Jakarta, but we have a few of our compatriots also in Bali, in Surabaya, in Medan, in Bandung.
So
Yes.
normally when let's say you invite lecturer
Yes.
from the Philippines, you give performance also, like the Ballet Philippines or normally how many Filipino attended this kind of activities?
Yes, well, we had a screening of Genera Luna, for example,
Okay.
which we did in cooperation with the UP Alumni Association here. And it was in a theater that seats 300. So we had 2 showings, an afternoon showing and an evening session. So in both screenings, we had maybe, let's say, about 200 or 250 maybe for the evening session, and that includes not only Filipinos but also Indonesians and foreigners, expatriates, because I invited also a lot of the members of the diplomatic corps, and so I had a lot of ambassadors and their families attend, and so they enjoyed that a lot.
So maganda po yan,
yes.
Your Excellency. Maganda ituloy natin sa part 2 because I'm very interested to know that the impact of that to the
yes.
Filipino community. No?
Yes.
Na napakaganda po na nakita natin na may ginagawang something positive ang embassy to the Filipino community here. Marami pa po tayo dapat matutunan, kaya siya po ang tabayan ninyo sa pagbabalik ng Power to Unite with Elvira.
Hi, I'm 𝗨𝗶𝘄𝗲𝗿. Join us on Healthline with Makati Med as we discuss the latest health and medical topics with doctors from Makati Med. For a healthier and uplifting lifestyle, tune into Healthline with Makati Med on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Radio Bandido TV. You've got questions, we've got answers.
Watch and listen to Healthline with Makati Med every Monday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Welcome to the program Power to Unite with Elvira. Andito na po tayo sa part 2 ng ating magandang interview kay Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Lumez-Leta. Siya po ang Philippine Ambassador to the Republic of Indonesia. Sa part 1, marami po siyang shinare sa atin na hindi ganun kadali maging isang ambassador. You have to understand the tradition, the culture, no, of the country itself they are serving. At the same time, they have also to take care of the welfare of the Filipino community. So ano pa kaya ang pag-usapan namin? Siya pong subaybayan nyo sa pagbabalik ng Power to Unite with Elvira dito po sa Part 2. Excellency, kasi naiisip ko talaga, nung nakikinig ako sa part 1 ng interview sa iyo, talagang pala napakayaman din pala ng ating kultura, which binigyan nyo ng buhay ulit, lalo na po sa mga kabataan. Kasi napansin din natin, ang next generation ngayon, lalo yung mga millennial kids, hindi na nila alam. So nakikita natin, na hindi lang pala relationship ang binibuild up nyo dito, you also think of the Filipino welfare. May mention din kayo, no? Ang dami din problema, lalo na sa Indonesia, you go to the prison, di ba, na tinutulungan yun din, gano. Hindi ba ito napakahirap when we saw na karamihan ng biktima dito really committed something wrong, and then, ikaw ba, pag na-feel mo wala kang magawa, do you feel sad? How do you cope with that? Na you tried every ways and means to help release them, tas wala kang magawa. Ito ba isang challenge sa iyo yun?
Oh yes, it's a very big challenge, and sometimes I really get hurt and also sad, and sometimes stressed over it, thinking about what else can be done. But I think in my talks with some friends who are also very religious like you, they've given me a lot of sage advice. And they've told me that, you know, you do your very best, you put in whatever effort you have, and then you leave the rest to God. So I find solace in those words, because I think, you know, you do your work, your job, and leave everything to God. So I think that's very important.
So how do you see your faith plays a role in your life, whether you are a diplomat or as an ordinary citizen? Does it start with the family?
Oh yes, even when I was young, and I guess through my school years, and I guess for me, ever since my faith and my religion is very important. And at the end of the day, I always take time to say thanks for the many blessings. And I always remind myself that there are indeed many blessings that come my way. And for all those problems that I encounter, I always tell myself, surrender this to God. Yes, it's very important.
Alam mo, I like that phrase na sinabi nyo, surrender everything to God, because He's really there to help you, no? Once you learn to say that, di ba parang magaan ang loob mo?
True.
No? Parang suddenly, because ang nangyari, you give your best. I tried every ways and means to do it, but it's beyond my control, di ba? So when you say, I leave it to you, Lord, siya nang gumagalaw di ba?
Actually, when I told you about my friends, quite recently only, that they reminded me about this. Then I find that, you know, I found relief, because it was really troubling me for some time. But when I was reminded about this, then wow, a sigh of relief for me. And I realized that, well, and somehow things did come out well. So I said it's always really good to leave everything to the Lord. Yes. Sometimes nakaka-frustrate. And then sometimes sa gabi parang hindi ka makatulog because you're still thinking about the problem. So it's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Siguro minsan people might think yun nga, they only see the glamour part, you know, of the job. But sometimes it's also not glamour. I mean, they say that you're always in all these receptions and all these parties.
No, yun ang alam nila.
It's actually, well, you know, it's nice to be friends, but it's part of the job as well. So, in terms of frustrations vis-a-vis the community naman, so far I'm also lucky because I don't have so much or none at all of problems with fellow Filipinos. In my thinking, I always make it a point to be transparent. So in terms of, like for example, we have some community activities, I always tell them, like in terms of financial funding and all that, I always open the books to them. I say, this is what we got, this is what we spent, etc. So I think if you're on the level with them, things will be all right. So I'm fortunate in that respect that in terms of my dealings with the Filipino community, it's been going well generally. Yeah.
Talagang hindi ito glamour trabaho talaga. Kaya nga nagtataka ako why you choose to be in Asia samantala ito yung mga maproblema. Ito ang maraming problema na i-encounter, but it seems na you are ready for that. Napamahal yung trabaho sa'yo because as you said, you leave everything to the Lord, kaya talaga napipil mo na ginaguide ka pa rin in some way, di ba?
Yes. Again, I want to take some exception to that, Elvira. I'm very fortunate, like in the community that I've been working with, in all the posts that I've been at, they've been very forthcoming also in terms of lending their services, their talents, and also their resources to the different activities of the embassy. So I'm really very thankful to them because sometimes you don't even ask for it and they come forward to offer whatever help the embassy might require. So of course also I here in Indonesia, there are not as many cases that we have. We have a few, but manageable.
Okay.
And yes, I as compared, for example, when I was in Singapore.
Okay.
Because when I was in Singapore, we had about 150,000 Filipinos
Big
there.
group, yes.
Quite a big community. So that where I am now, where you have 7,000 over, or even in Laos, where there were about 1,000, it isn't as problematic as Singapore. So I'm fortunate. I may be in Asia, but I'm not encountering the problems in such magnitudes as other Asian countries. Yes.
I can now understand why, because you have an aura. Serene ang aura po ninyo di ba? Tsaka you are very motherly talaga. You give everything to help, no? So when we come here as an TV crew talaga, nakita po natin na you go out of your way to communicate, for those people na interested with this Southeast Asia Prejudice Project, na you link us to UNICEF, you link us to different NGOs, to different international. Nagpapasalamat po ang Anak TV for that, no? Saka kung kami, an outsider, hindi po tayo magkakilala, pagdating namin, ang bait naman ng ambassador, tinutulungan kami. It's because you understand the vision, the mission, and you think it's worth it, kaya tinutulungan. And I think this is also how Filipino community think of you everywhere you go, because you show you care. Kasi importante po dito, yung nakikita nila na meron kang caring attitude, no? At the same time, yung respeto na ibibigay sa iyo, di ba? Tutuloy natin mamaya ang ating magandang discussion sa pagbabalik po ng Power Tonight with Elvira.
Mga kapugad, ito po si Attorney Darwin Cañete. Inaanyayahan ko po kayong manood at makinig sa aming programang Pugad Vloggers dito po sa DZRJ 8:10 AM Radio Bandido TV.
Watch and listen to Pugad Bloggers, Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Excellency 𝗨𝗶𝘁𝗶𝗏, sabi mo, hindi naman kailangan humingi sila na MIPSO nakukusa because there is end result. Di ba? Alam nila malaki ang gastos ng embassy by bringing, mga lecturer, by bringing this group of performers para lang sa kanila, para sa kanila lang, di man para sa iyo yun di ba? You never think of yourself. When you are here, nakikita ko po, Your Excellency, always think, what can I do for the Filipino? What can I do for the Indonesian, di ba? So, yun na nasa mind mo Hindi dahil akong ambassador, it's my obligation, it's my response. Hindi yun na nasa isip mo It's not an obligation, but it's really you feel you need to do something to bridge the gap between the two countries, di ba? Kaya yun ang isa din magandang challenge. Kung medyo, siguro, kaya talaga you find solace or you find joy in what you're doing, di ba?
Salamat, Elvira. Yes, well, I'm fortunate also, no? Again, part of all the blessings that I'm getting. As I told you, sometimes we take it for granted, but we shouldn't ever. Kasi nga, you might find yourself in a difficult situation, but when you weigh it out, the blessings far outweigh the bad things, at least for me, no? Now. So, I'm very thankful. And as for your project, I believe in it. When I read through the background papers that you sent, I really asked the embassy officers and staff to help out. And we really sent out letters so that we can get a good turnout of people for your sessions with them.
Kailangan talagang everyday nag-aaral ka dito because you are dealing with different tradition, with different culture. Kahit Indonesia, malaki. When you go to Borneo, iba din dito. When you go to Sulawesi, iba din dito, di ba? And you travel around, no? Kasi you need to understand to become an effective representative or let's say ambassador of a certain country, di ba? Your Excellency.
Yes, thank you, Elvira. And yes, I'd like to invite your audience, those who are watching, that if you're interested in joining the Foreign Service, I believe the department conducts annual exams for those who want to go through the examination. And just to remind everyone also that, public service, being a civil servant, is actually a privilege because you are working and yet you're serving your country and your fellow Filipinos. So it's quite a privilege to be in that position. And of course, it doesn't pay as much, I guess, as the private sector. So there is a kind of sacrifice also that is that you have to go through. So there is also a kind of dedication and commitment to your country and service to your people.
So what will be your advice to your younger colleague dito? So based sa mga nakita mong changes.
You're right, no, Elvira. When I joined the department, I thought I was like, ahead in terms of gadgets and all that. But now I've come to realize that I'm no techie. It's these millennials who are really, it's second nature to them, who are really tech savvy. So I think for these junior officers or mid-level officers, I think it's important for them to learn from their superiors, whether to learn good things or bad things that they ought not to repeat. Either way, take it, no? So and learn from it. Of course, I think the commitment, as I said, should be there to serve the country and not just, for the monetary rewards perhaps that come with it. So I try to instill that in my officers and staff and sort of some kind of respect also for the service and for the positions that you occupy, because you're not carrying it on your own, but you carry it for your country. So be aware of that always.
And I know because of changes of government, one government after another, so we will not criticize any, administration. Pero as a diplomat, you have to follow. Whoever sits on top, kung ano yung policy, you have to adjust. So you have to be flexible. Tama po?
To some extent, some flexibility should be practiced by us. But I suppose there is that basic love for country of all our leaders, I think. So perhaps they differ in their approaches, but the basic belief and desire to do good for the country and the people is there. So you take it from there, and they are the leaders, and therefore they provide the vision and so also the directions for you.
Maybe there's a change in hierarchy, pero kayo makareer, you continue to do what you think is the best, representing the country, you know, doing the mission that is expected of you to foster goodwill, friendly relationship, and increased trade, lalo na po sa trade, kailangan importante yan, di ba? Ang challenge po ng globalization, totoo po, andoon, di ba? So, isa din pong malaking hamon sa mga ambassador para i-convince, mag-invest kayo sa Pilipinas. Sa mata, lahat ng bansa is attracting each one. You invest in us, no?
Kaya nga po, hindi ho nag-iiba in that sense yung trabaho namin. So, like for example, trying to attract more business, more investors, ganun pa din. Regardless of whoever is the sitting administration. So I think we're very clear in that, in respect of our economic diplomacy, in respect of our socio-cultural diplomacy as well, and in respect of our political and security diplomacy, which actually are the three pillars of our foreign service. It's actually a distinct privilege and honor for me to be the ambassador here in Indonesia and in other posts that I've served. But to tell you frankly, Elvira, parang I don't feel it, you know, in the sense that I just go about my job.
Okay.
And, you know, these are honorifics when they call you excellency or ambassador. But you're doing your job, you know where you're headed. And in my case, I represent a beautiful country with a rich culture, with beautiful people who are, I think we are one of the most talented, most creative people in the world. And as we were discussing earlier, iba yung character ng Filipino, may malasakit.
Yes,
no?
yes.
Which is very important and which is something that I don't find very often in other nationals.
Yes, yes.
For others, it's like, you know, you do a job, that's it. For Filipinos, we go an extra mile.
Yeah, it's with the heart.
It's with heart. So you not only do the job, you even improve on it because you are thinking of the person that you are serving. So I think that character of the Filipino is beautiful, and I'm proud to be, you know, representing this kind of culture.
I'm glad that you say that, Your Excellency, kasi totoo po naman yun eh. Nawi-witness nyo at talagang nakikita nyo, ito ang may pagmamalaki po. Napakaganda na sharing mo, Your Excellency, Ambassador Isleta, no? Na nakikita ko, dapat pala ituloy natin no, sa pagbabalik ng Power to Unite with Elvira. Hello everyone, for those who are always tuning in and listening to DCRJ 810 AM Radio Bandido TV, here I am again, once again inviting you to watch and to listen also to Power to Unite with Elvira every Saturday from 5 to 6:30 p.m.
Watch and listen to Power to Unite every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Excellency Ambassador Isleta, na-share mo din po na maganda rin itong mga younger junior, you know, you remind them also what to expect and what not to expect, that they have to continue learning, no? At the same time, kailangan marunong ding makinig, di ba? Kailangan may respeto din sa superior kasi the superior has more experience than they are, di ba? Even though they are media savvy, they are techno savvy, pero iba pa rin yung hands-on na may experience with people. Is that correct, Your Excellency?
Well, that's true, Elvira. Actually, the experience, I've just come to realize that I've been in the service for quite a while now. And so when I encounter some of my discussions with the younger officers, and in a way, some of them are one-dimensional because they have not really experienced the total sum of being a diplomat. So I think as the head of the post, that is where you come in. So you're able to weigh in, get to digest the total picture.
Okay.
And that's why you are the head of the post, because at the end of the day, you decide and you weigh everything. So it's very important for a leader also to have learned this while they were going through their own scaling up the ladder, in the service. This is not to say that I know everything, because I realize that there is still much more
to learn.
that I have to learn. But I guess for those who are still young, I guess I can also share with them the experience that I've been through.
So sort of guiding them, di ba?
Sure.
What is your advice to the next generation, future diplomat of junior officers?
Yes. Thank you, Elvira. Well, I'd like to thank you, Elvira, for giving me this chance to be able to address our fellow Filipinos back home and perhaps overseas. I'd like to tell everyone that our relations with Indonesia, which is what I'm here for, is doing very well. Indonesia is one of our closest bilateral partners, especially within the ASEAN region. I think we share a special kinship with Indonesia because there are many things that are similar between Philippines and Indonesia, and between the Filipinos and Indonesians. We're quick to smile. We're happy people. We love to sing, which the Indonesians also love to sing. And in terms of our economic relations, when we had the state visit to the Philippines of President 𝗄𝗏𝗏, who was accompanied by quite a huge delegation of business people who signed on the sides of the state visit several very important agreements that will establish further and deeper economic relations between our two countries. In terms of our social, cultural, also and political security, there have been some very substantive discussions between our two presidents, and of course during that state visit, the two presidents also launched the roll-on, roll-off service between Davao, General Santos, and Bitung in northeastern Indonesia, which of course will help forge even greater people-to-people contacts between our two countries. After all, these are the 2 points in the Philippines and Indonesia that are closest to each other. So I'd like to inform everyone also that, for those who'd like to join the service, there is a different kind of satisfaction and fulfillment that you will get from being of service to your country and to your people, and also for representing a beautiful country and the people that you can really be proud of. Because as I said, we have one of the most talented, most creative, most artistic peoples in the world. And to top that, we're a caring and sharing people as well. So I again would like to thank everyone, and of course thank you, Elvira, for this opportunity.
Napakaganda po ni sharing ni Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Lulmen Estreta. Siya po ang Philippine Ambassador sa Republic of Indonesia. At nakikita po natin, hindi po ganun kadali maging isang ambassador because you have to undergo a lot of training, undergo a lot of learning, undergo a lot of stress at the same time. No? Saka you have to undergo a lot of experience dito because you are dealing with human beings. Whether it's Filipino community or the country you are assigned to, kailangan po maintindihan nyo ng kanilang kultura, ang kanilang tradition, ang kanilang laws and regulation. At sa ating bansa din, may ginagawa din ang bawat sa ambassador para hindi makalimutan ng Filipino community sino po sila. Which nakita po na in-establish ni Ambassador Estreta yung Centro Rizal, not only Laos but also here Indonesia, which proved to be very effective. Sana yung mga sumusunod sa yapak ng mga future ambassador natin, gawin po nila lahat ang paraan na to learn a lesson from them na when you represent your country, see to it they are proud of you. At isipin parati ang kapakanan ng ating bansa. At isipin din tulungan ng ating kapwa. You know, because you owe it. And here we saw also the role that faith plays a very important part, you know, for each one of us. Kahit na po karir kayo, kahit na kayo diplomat, kailangan pa rin po ninyo ang Diyos sa inyong buhay. Hanggang sa muli dito po sa programa ng Power to Unite with Elvira.